Hello, welcome to this video tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to create a very basic temperature converter in Golang. Let's take our editor, let's dive into it and straight away start. So now let's start our package.main. Good. Now let's bring in a number of packages that we are going to import. Okay, so we'll be using the bufio, we'll be using the format package. Let's bring all of them inside and see. Yeah, so we are importing the required packages that we'll be using. So you use the bufio for reading the user input. We will be using the format package for printing. We will be using the OS package for interacting with the operating system. We will be using the strings for conversion. Good. Now let's go straight into our function main. Good. So inside it, we will first of all declare a variable called reader that will instantiate the bufio package for the user input storage. Good. Now let's declare that one our reader. Then we will say it is coming from the bufio package. Good. And we'll be using the standard in. Now we will go ahead and declare and print out the menu for the user to choose from. So we will first have our temperature converter title when the program starts. Then we will have the menu for the user to choose. So we will first of all use our package print line and we will display the temperature converter at the console. Then we will go ahead and display all our menu. So the first one we will say from Celsius to Fahrenheit and Kelvin. So that will convert from degrees Celsius to degree Fahrenheit and Kelvin. Good. Then we will have our second option 2, that will convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius and Kelvin. Okay, good. We have that one also. So from Fahrenheit to Celsius and Kelvin. Then we will have our third option that will convert from Kelvin to Celsius and Fahrenheit. So Kelvin to Celsius and Fahrenheit. Okay, good. That's our option 3. Kelvin to Celsius and Fahrenheit. Then our fourth option will be to exit the program. So you say that if the user wants to exit totally from the program, then he can choose the option 4, which is exit. Then we will tell the user to select from these options 1 to 4. Good. So that is it. We have our menu ready now. Now you have to create a variable that will hold the user input and we will call it choice. So we will have the choice and we will say it is coming from the instance that we created, from the read instance over here that we created, that's instantiated from the bufio package. Good. So and it will be that reader that we declared. Then it will read the string from the option, and by default we are saying that it should read from that line. So we'll bring in that line over here. Good. So let me add a comment and say that is to read the user input until a new line character. So let me bring in the comment for it to be more clear. and be able to follow along. Now we will go again, and with the choice we will have to trim every space, and we have to trim every space from the choice that we have. So that will be the choice. The choice will be equal to, then we will use the strings package to trim out all the spaces, so that we will be able to get the initial numbers over here, the 1 2 3 4. So we will trim out the spaces, and it will be left with the 1 2 3 4. Good. So trim space, and we will say it is going to trim the choices over here which are stored the option the user will choose. Okay. So let me comment it and say this line will remove any white space for us, or the new line from the input. Good. Now we will go ahead and give a condition that if a user chooses the option 4, the program should automatically break and exit. Yeah, so that we can continue on with the rest. So in case the user chooses 4, in case the choice that the user will choose has the number 4, then we should print, give the message that he can actually exit. Let's say the goodbye. Let's say goodbye. Then we can break the program and exit. Now the reason why we are seeing an error here is that this break actually works in a loop, because we are going to put all of this in a loop, a for loop, an infinite loop, so that it will keep showing on the console until a user selects an option. Do you get it? Good. So we will put all of them in an infinite for loop. So we will say for, and we will put all of them inside this for loop, and it will continue displaying until a user chooses an option. Then that option will go ahead and perform that task. So if the user chooses the option 4, then it exits from the program. So we will put all that we have written over here inside the for loop. So let's do that. Good. So we have all of them inside. Now you see the break, the error is gone, because that works in a for loop. Now let's continue and see the user should, in case the user selects apart from the 4, then we should tell the user to enter that value for that temperature he wants to convert. Great. So we are prompting the user to enter the value for the option that he has chosen. Now, so we will say format print line. We will do the format print, and we will say the user should enter temperature value. Then we will declare a variable called temp to store. We say it will be a float, to store the value that the user will input. And when the user input it, we are going to use the format scanf to actually store that value into the temperature. So you bring in our format package and use the scan method from it. So you use the scanf method, and we will say that the input that the user is coming to input is actually a float over here, and we are going to store it into the temp variable that we have already declared, and we are going to store it inside the pointer, the memory address of the temperature variable that you have declared, so that we can actually modify, because as we have instantiated or declared it over here, it has no value, so it means it is 0. So the moment the user inputs a temperature value, then we will store it, we will modify the 0, and we will store what the user has inputted to be the value for that temperature. So for us to be able to do that, we have to say that this is actually touching the memory address of that temperature. So we'll bring a percent over here. So that is what will enable us to modify the original value, which is 0, and we will input the user input over there. Good. Now we are going to loop through, or inside this loop, we are going to use the switch method to switch between all the values that all the options that the user will choose, whether from option 1 or 2 or 3, and per each and every one that you choose, you go inside and perform that task. So if you chooses the option 1, the choice 1, then you create a function to convert the value from the Celsius to Fahrenheit and Kelvin at the same time. Good. So we will bring in our switch method, and we will say we are going to switch in between all the choices that the user will input. And in the case where the choice is 1, this is what we are going to do. We are going to convert from Celsius. When the choice is 1, it is from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Good. So convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit and Kelvin, right? I think, yeah. Good. Then, so we will first show in a format print the value of the Celsius in Fahrenheit. Then we will again show the value of the Celsius in Kelvin here. So like this. Good. So this will be our Celsius value that the user will input. That is over here, the temperature, which will store the value that the user will input, that he is converting from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So that will be that over here. Then that will be equal to the value, the equivalent value in Fahrenheit over here. So the point 2 is 2 decimal places, and the F is a float. So it means that the temperature is actually a float, and we are going to only do 2 decimal places. So after the conversion also to Fahrenheit, is going to be in 2 decimal places. Then we will create this function Celsius to Fahrenheit, and it is going to take the temperature value that the user will input. So we will create a function for this to do the calculation for us. Then at the same time, we will also show the Kelvin equivalent of the Celsius temperature the user will input. So you say Celsius to Kelvin. Good. And that is also going to show the value of the Celsius temperature to Kelvin. And that will be the case for number 1. And we are going to say that in the case where the input is to from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and at the same time we will also show the equivalent value from to Kelvin from Kelvin to Celsius, and we also do from Kelvin to Fahrenheit. Alright, good. So let's bring that one here from Kelvin to Fahrenheit. Let's make it cap. Okay, good. Now I think we are done. Now we'll go ahead and create our functions to handle that. Good. But one last thing in our switch, what if in case the user input anything apart from the 1, 2, 3 and it is not also 4? So you say that he has actually inputted, so the default apart from these, you say that the user has actually inputted an invalid option. Good. That takes care of that. Great. Now let's go ahead and create our functions. So over here we will first create our function that is going to convert from the Celsius to Fahrenheit. Over here, then it is going to take the Celsius temperature. So let's give the parameter Celsius. Good. And we will say that that is a float. Okay, let's say float 64. Good. And it is actually going to return a value for us, and that value also should be a float. Okay, good. So inside the function we will do our calculation, and we say that it is to return the Celsius value that it is taking, and it should multiply it by 9/5. That's the formula for converting from Celsius to Fahrenheit. The Celsius value times 9/5, then all into brackets, then you add 32 to it. That's the formula for calculating it. So we are done with the function for calculating from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Then we will move ahead and create our function for the rest. So let me bring in a short comment over here. So this is to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. Right, good. Then we will create another function that will convert from Celsius to Kelvin. Good. And in that function we will declare, and we will say that from Celsius to Kelvin, and we will say that it is also taking the Celsius parameter, and that is also a float. That is also a float, and it is also returning the float, a value which is also a float. Then inside it we will bring in our formula for converting from Celsius to Kelvin, and that is more straightforward. It is actually the Celsius value plus 273.15. Good. Then we will go ahead again and create our function from converting to Celsius from Fahrenheit. Good. So let's bring that one, Fahrenheit to Celsius. Great. So from Fahrenheit to Celsius, we have it from Fahrenheit to Celsius. It is going to take the value which is the Fahrenheit. Good. And it is also a float. It's a float 64, and it is also going to return a value float 64. Then inside it we will perform the calculation also as well, and the formula for that one we will return. The formula for that one will be the Fahrenheit minus 32 all into bracket. So the Fahrenheit minus 32 all into bracket, and space to make more readable. Then we will multiply what we will get by 5/9. Good. Then we convert from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Now the other conversion will be from Fahrenheit to Kelvin. So we bring our function and we say Fahrenheit to Kelvin. Good. And it's going to take the Fahrenheit value, which is a float. It is also going to return a float value. Then inside it, we will perform our calculation from Fahrenheit to Kelvin. And the formula for that one is the Fahrenheit value all into bracket. Then we will also subtract 32 from it. Then the value we will get, we will multiply it by the 5/9. Then if you remember this formula, it is the same here to Celsius, but because we are doing it to Kelvin, we will first of all bring it to Celsius, which is this formula. Then we will then convert it to Kelvin, which is adding the 273. Good. And then after we are done, we will add the 273.15. Then we have it from Fahrenheit to Kelvin. Good. Now we will do from Kelvin to Celsius. So we bring our function from Kelvin to Celsius, and it's going to take the Kelvin value, and you will say that it's going to be a float, and it is also going to return a float. And inside it, we will have our conversion from Kelvin to Celsius, which is Kelvin, that the Kelvin parameter, the value, then we will subtract 273.15 from it. Then we will have it back to Celsius from Kelvin. Then we will have our last function, which is from Kelvin to Fahrenheit. So a function is supposed to actually perform a specific task. So it is not appropriate, or it is not a best practice to have one function and have all the conversion inside. No, it is not a good practice. So we have every function to perform a specific task. So the last function you have is from Kelvin to Fahrenheit. Okay, so it will take the Kelvin value from the user, which is going to be a float. Then it is also going to return a float over here. Then we will say that the formula for that one is going to be the Kelvin value minus the 273.15. Then the value we will get, we will multiply it by 9/5. Then what we will get, we will add 32 to it. Then we have it from Kelvin to Fahrenheit. So if you remember this formula is from Kelvin to Celsius. Then we will convert it to Fahrenheit. Then we will add this one to it. Good. Now we are done with all our functions. So let's run our program to see. If you pay attention, the temperature value that we created over here, we said it is supposed to be float 32, but as the values are being passed into our functions, we say that they are float 64. That is how come we are getting some errors over here with the temperature values that we are taking into the functions. So let's change it to 64 for compatibility. Now the errors is gone. Now let's run our program and see. Good. Now let's test our program to see. Now let's test our program to see. Okay, good. We have our menu here. We have the name of our program, temperature converter. Okay, now let's choose option 1 and see. Good. Now he's telling us to enter the temperature value. Now let's say 34. We don't have a space here. Okay, so let's take notice of that to fix that. Okay, then let's say 34. Good. Now we see it over here. 34 degrees Celsius to 93.2 degree Fahrenheit. Then 34 degrees Celsius again to Kelvin. So this is supposed to be Kelvin. Okay, so we will fix that one too. Now the program keeps running. Now you see it over here. Now we have another bug here. Instead of us to select an option again, it is telling us to enter the temperature value where we have not selected an option. So let's fix this bug in our code. Okay, so first the enter temperature value here, we have to bring a space here. Okay, good. That that was that one. Now let's go ahead and fix the rest also. Now in our code here, we see here is supposed to be Kelvin, from degrees Celsius to Kelvin. So we will say to Kelvin. Now here it's supposed to also be Kelvin. Okay, I think that is it. Good. Now here is Kelvin to degrees Celsius. Here is supposed to be degrees Fahrenheit. Good. Here is to be Kelvin, degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, good. We fixed that one. So now let's fix that bug of where the selected option that doesn't come but takes us straight into entering the temperature value. Now, if you look at it carefully, we were using the bufio package to read the user input, but here we were using the scanf. So it's the former scanf that was causing the problem. So the issue basically is the scan function over here, they do not consume the new line character, and which is causing the problems when reading any subsequent input. And if the user enters a non-numeric value to it, can also cause a runtime error. So the basic problem was that the scan function is actually not consuming a new line character. So that is how come we were having the whole thing on a new line, and it was causing the issue. And we are supposed, then let's remove that one and continue to use the bufio reader package for it. Now let's look at how that one works. Good. Now the same way we did for the choice over here, we will do the same thing for the temperature that we are storing. So we will say temperature, the same over here, temperature. Then we will have buffer also here. Then the same way we also trim space all of that. Also we will do the same over here, and we will say that the temperature, equal to the strings. Then we'll bring our temperature inside here to trim it. Now we are getting an error here. Good, because we are supposed to, now the temperature is being passed over here as string, so we are now supposed to convert that to a float instead. Good. Now we will do temperature temperature, then we will not pass any error for now. And let's say that we will convert it from string to the float. We use the string conversion package from Go. Good. Then we have it like this. Then we will import the package to fix this error. Good. And shortly it will be fixed. Good. Let's check it if it is imported. Good. We have it imported, the string converter. Good. Now we have it in float now, but we are still seeing this error which says that, let's look at it, we say that cannot use string as a string value. So what we will do is that let's change the variable names over here to, let's say, input. Let's give them input. Then that means that the temperature will be a new variable that is having the string called input to float. Then let's bring in the input also over here. Good. Now, okay, so we are having an error here, which means that the temperature is not defined. Good. So we actually didn't declare it as a variable. Now, good, we have it fixed now. So now let's run our program lastly again if it is fixed. Good. Now select an option. Let's choose option 1, and you say enter value, let's say 65. Then we have it over here, 65 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit, and the Kelvin also. Now we see our program is now still running. Say that we should, another option, let's say option 2. Good. And let's say 44. Enter. Now we see 44 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. Now let's say option 3. Option 3. Let's say 199. We see 199 Kelvin to degrees Celsius. Now let's say option 4, which is supposed to exit the program. Option 4. Good. Now you say goodbye. Now thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this helps. If you like this video, I will leave the source code in the video description below. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment in the comment section. Thank you very much. See you in the next project or the next lesson.